Welcome friends, welcome to Sri Swaminarayan Defense Academy. Today we are going to study about the Science and Technology part 2 of standard 10th. Okay, so for today's lecture we are going to focus on our first chapter, that is heredity and evolution. What do you mean by heredity? Has anyone idea about this? So heredity is a transfer of biological character from one generation to another via genes. Okay, so what do you mean by gene? Gene is a small fragment of DNA. What is gene? Gene is a small fragment of DNA. Okay, so gene is a small fragment of DNA, and this gene is responsible for transferring the character from parents to offspring, right? So you are not you are not a Xerox copy of your father or your mother as it is. You have some characters of your father and some characters of your mother, right? So how this character came into you, how this permutation and combination was seen in you. So these permutation combination are due to the gene which carry your genetic information. Okay, so this genetic information, when new embryo is formed, new individual is formed, is mixed match and a new combination of character along with your parents is seen into you. Okay, so as this gene is a small fragment of DNA, so again the question arises, what is DNA? What are the characters of DNA? What is the combination of this DNA? So in short, we will discuss the structure of DNA. So what your DNA includes? It includes the double-stranded structure. What human or eukaryotic DNA consists of? It is a linear double helix structure. Okay, it may be right-handed or it may be left-handed, but basically what you have to keep in your mind that there are two strands of DNA which are running from 3' to 5' and 5' to 3'. Okay, these both strands are anti-parallel, and because of this anti-parallel activity there is attraction or attraction between your nucleotides. Okay, DNA consists of your nucleotides. Okay, and these nucleotides are combination of sugar, phosphate and nitrogenous base pairs. Nitrogenous base pairs. So these strands or this DNA's backbone is made up of sugar and phosphate backbone, and whatever orange color lines you are seeing in between, these are the nitrogenous bases. Adenine, guanine, pyrimidines are thymine, cytosine, uracil. Okay, in DNA you will see adenine pairs with thymine with 2 hydrogen bond and guanine pairs with uracil with 3 hydrogen bonds. Okay, and in RNA thymine is replaced by uracil. Okay, hope so you have understood up to this part that what is heredity? Heredity is a transfer of character from one generation to another via genes. Genes are the small fragment of DNA, and if in broad we try to understand what is DNA, so DNA is a double helix structure made up of 3 components: sugar, phosphate, nitrogenous base pairs. So sugar which are present in DNA is deoxyribose sugar. Phosphate single molecule of phosphate or phosphoric acid. It is also known as phosphoric acid. And the nitrogenous base pairs are of two types, purines and pyrimidines. So purines are adenine and guanine molecules. Pyrimidines are thymine, cytosine and uracil in broad. Yes, if we talk about specifically about the DNA consists of just adenine, thymine, cytosine and guanine. There is no uracil. Uracil is only present or only seen in your RNA molecule. Okay. So what are the RNA? When you in-depth study about the process of replication, transpiration and translocation, these three process is part of central dogma of molecular biology. Transcription, translation, translocation, and before that comes the replication. These all are part of central dogma of molecular biology. Okay. So RNA is made from DNA via the process of transcription. So from DNA your RNA is made, and from RNA you get a protein molecule. So from DNA to RNA, when it is formed, these transcription, and from RNA to protein it is translation. So when your new molecule of DNA is formed, so how your new molecule of DNA is formed? By the process of replication. Replication, your DNA undergoes the various process such as replication, formation of replication fork, origin and all. But you just have to understand that when your DNA starts to transcribe, it forms a new stretch of undergo transcription, it forms a RNA, and RNA which is formed, it is a mRNA. Okay. So on this mRNA there are several types of nucleotides. So these nucleotides may be adenine, guanine, then cytosine, uracil, adenine and so on. Okay. As this is RNA, there will be presence of uracil instead of thymine. So when your transcription starts, these nucleotides are added on this new RNA, forming new RNA. The stretch of RNA then have this sequence of nucleotides, and when actual your process of translation starts, there the message of this mRNA is transcribed. So mRNA stands for messenger RNA. So this messenger RNA carries the message for which the protein is to be made. For each and every protein there are different kinds of amino acids, right? And for different amino acids there are different codons, and these codons are present on this mRNA. Codon consists of set of three nucleotides. A single codon consists of a triplet, three nucleotide, which is also known as a triplet codon, because it contains three nucleotides. So it may be A, U, C, any kind of nucleotide it may have. So these particular triplet codons or these messages are read by tRNA, and this tRNA then further forms the polypeptide chain of these amino acids. Amino acids are simplest form of protein. Okay, these amino acids are simplest form of protein. So whenever a large molecule of protein is it is broken into its simple form. And what is the simple form of protein? It is these amino acids. So for this formation of amino acid, you need some kind of raw material or some kind of message which is carried by your triplet codon. Okay, this triplet codon is encoded or decoded by your tRNA. So tRNA decodes the message. So now you may want to know how many types of amino acids are there. There are so much complexity of protein. There are structural protein, there are some enzymes which are made up of protein, there are hormones which are made up of protein, right? So for so many proteins, there are only how many amino acid? 20 amino acids. These 20 amino acids by permutation combinations make your all kind of different proteins. And these proteins or these amino acid was first recognized by whom? Dr. Harsh Govind Singh Khurana, who is a scientist of Indian origin, who first discovered these 20 amino acids. Okay, these codon are decoded by anticodon, and these anticodon are present on your tRNA. Okay, tRNA, and this coding and decoding is known as translation. Decodes this message and forms your polypeptide chain is known as translocation. The new individual is formed, the genes are transferred, new genes are formed by this process of transcription, translation. Your protein is also formed. So in this all process, because of some kind of environmental activities or some kind of chemical effect, there may be mutation. These characters present in an individual, this mutation occurs at gene level. When there is change in the sequence of your nucleotide ATGC sequences, so at that time the mutation occur. Mutation is a sudden change in your genes. Mutation is sudden change in your genes. It may be because of environment or it may be because of any other factor such as chemical or environmental factor. Okay, and these mutations are responsible for your evolution too, because whenever evolution happened, the mutation play an important role. Because of this mutation, new organisms, new individuals with new characters emerged. Evolution is a process in which organisms undergo a process of gradual change by different environmental factors or by nature itself. Slowly these organisms adapt new characters, adapt new habitat, and because of that there is change in its individual gene also. And this gene level change, the evolution, there comes one theory that how these organisms or how this evolution happened. So there is story that we evolved from which nature? We come from water habitat or aquatic habitat, right? We don't immediately emerge into this terrestrial habitat, and so much complexity was not seen in us. How this complexity and how this level we attain? So the Big Bang theory and all, you must have listened about this. So in that theory, what they try to explain to us, that in early days the environment of this earth was very hot, gradually it changed and the temperature of the earth tried to cool down, and when it starts to cool down, it becomes a cool ball of earth, right? Ice was seen on completely on earth. So when the lightning and thundering activity was there, whatever chemical components like carbon, whatever elements, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur, these molecules interacted with each other in the presence of thunder and lightning, and these particular interactions resulted into first amino acid, and this amino acid is a backbone of your protein, and proteins are the structural and functional component of humans and each and every organism, right? So in this way the first organism was formed, and it was not having any complexities, was simple living molecule with few elements. Okay, characters, new organelles were formed. Now this organism tried to function or started to do its own activity. So first simple organism from animal kingdom which was formed was amoeba and paramecium. Okay, amoeba and paramecium are the first unicellular organisms from animal kingdom, and from plant kingdom chlorella and banyan tree. The most complex one is banyan tree and the most simplest one is your chlorella. So if evolution happened, if we say that evolution happened, there was gradual change in organisms habitat, its nature and its behavior. These change were seen up to the gene levels. So what are the evidences? There must be some evidences that give the proof that yes, there was some change seen in these organisms or this plant or any kind of bacteria. So these change were first studied in different organisms, different plants. So first evidence we will study about evidence of evolution. We will try to understand. Okay. So in that, first is your morphological evidence. Morphological means external. Externally, what kind of differences this organisms was showing in your body. So it may be, before that you just observe these plants and animal. What differences and similarities you can see? The placements of eyes, nose and mouth, presence of ear pinna, right? These are some characters similar morphologically, okay, in each and every organism. See, everyone has ear pinna, placement of nose and mouth. These are some similar. And in plants, you can see the presence of leaves, fruits. Then in leaf, your petiole is there, right? The stalk of this leaf. These are similarities which were seen in each and every organism. But what you can indicate from this? You can indicate that these similarities in animals indicate that there is someone who is their ancestor. From their ancestral, this character were transferred from them to now whatever they can. Dog is different, sheep is different, fox is different, each and every species is different, but the basic morphological character of them is similar. The presence of eyes, nose and mouth, these are some external differences which are common in each and every animal species. Okay, same goes with the plant. Plants also have some ancestor from which they emerge from single cells, such as what we studied, chlorella, right? Simple form was chlorella. Whatever cells chlorella have, same cells will be there in these leaves and all, but the complexity increased. But what similar character was there? Presence of leaf, fruit, petiole, leaflets, flowers. These are some basic similarities. Though species are different, though organisms are living in different kinds of habitat, but their basic characters are same. Similarly, anatomical evidences show that internally, whenever you see the human's hand, cat's foreleg, patagium or flippers of whale, internally each and every one, internally or externally. First we will talk about external character, that externally these all are looking different, right? Everyone's function is different, but when internally when you see the presence of these joints, internally when you see that presence of these joints is common in all of them. Similarly, presence of these digits, like digits and joints, internally the bone structure whatever was there, they were showing some kind of similarities. So these similarities indicates again that they have a common ancestor. Okay, again these similarities, externally they may look different. For whale, the flippers is used for swimming. Patagium of bat, they use this patagium, bat use this patagium for flying purpose. Cat's foreleg for walking, hands we used for picking up the things, right? Every function is different, but internally they're natural. Again, the third evidence which was given, it is of vestigial organ, right? Vestigial organs in our ancestor, these organs were present at this appendix. So in our ancestor, today we possess the wisdom teeth, tailbone, appendix or ear muscles. Though we don't use them today, these are vestigial, but in some or the other era, these characters or presence of these organs was useful to us or our ancestor. So do you have any kind of idea that why appendix must be used? In early days, you may know that the organisms or early man used to eat raw food, right? So raw food contains the presence of cellulose. It is a type of sugar. So to digest this cellulase enzyme was needed. So this cellulase enzyme was secreted from this appendix. So that's why appendix was present in early man. But today, do we eat raw food? No, we eat well cooked food, right? So use of this appendix slowly and gradually become less useful, or the use of this appendix become less, and hence it become vestigial, or it's of no use to us today, right? Similarly, if you study about the history or evolution in back of human evolution, if you study, we were evolved from monkeys or apes. So monkeys used to possess tail for climbing and for balancing on the trees, right? But today we are balancing on our 2 feet, we are standing erect. So is there any use of this tailbone? No. But still, in developmental stages or today also, after becoming an adult, you will see a small tail-like structure known as coccyx. This coccyx today is still present in us, which represents a tailbone. And this tailbone was present in our ancestor. Again, it gives proof that we are evolved from some kind of organisms, but as these things or these particular structures are of no use to us, so slowly and steadily it becomes unuseful and they become the vestigial organs in us. Wisdom teeth for chewing purpose of the hard substances, but today as we use the cooked food, we don't need so much kind of chewing activity or chewing of particular substances. Same the ear muscle. Do we flip our ear pinna like animals? Do we flip them? If you closely and properly observe these animals like cat, dog or any kind of wild animal, they flip their ear pinna, right? Whatever ear pinna is there, they move them. So for that movement, ear muscles were needed. But for hearing purpose or hearing surrounding noise, do we flip those ear pinna? No. So again, these ear muscles. What is paleontology? Paleontology is a study of fossils. What do you mean by fossils then? Fossils are remnants or impression of organisms which are dead or which were seen in the particular eras, but due to some environmental condition or due to some kind of disaster, they become dead. And after becoming dead, their impression were made on some rocks or some sand or any kind of other natural particle, and these remnants or impression of these organisms were preserved. So on which substance it could be preserved? Such as rocks. Mostly it is rock, sand, on which this impression were properly preserved. See these images. On rock, these impressions are made. This is a fish, mouth of dinosaur, whole organism is seen, right? So such kind of impressions were seen on the rocks, and these impressions today are known as fossils, and these fossils are used for the purpose of such kind of organism was living on this earth, which dwell on this earth with these specific kinds of characters and habitat. But how will you know that of what age this organism may be, what age or era it died, how many years have been passed to the death of this organism? So it is done by carbon dating. Carbon dating is a method in which we study the radioactivity of C14 carbon. So whenever organism is live, the process of the C14 is present, but as the organism dies or it become dead, so the use of this C14 becomes gradually, the use of this C14 gradually stops, and this C14 carbon is radioactive and C12 is not. So the radioactivity with C14 to C12 is seen, and this radioactivity tells us what is the age of this dead organism, in what era it may be there, how many years it has been passed that it has become this remnant or fossils. Okay, so activity of C12 and C14 is responsible for knowing the age of these particular fossils. These are different era. Birds were seen in Cenozoic era, in Mesozoic era, all the reptiles, dinosaur was there. Paleozoic era of your aquatic animals, invertebrates was in. So in different era, different organisms were observed, and due to some kind of changes in environment or climatic condition or habitat, these organisms cannot tolerate the harsh condition, and they become dead, or their lives was ended. So when their life was ended, some or the other way these impressions were made on particular type of rock, and this rock we used as an evidence or study connecting link. So connecting link is what can you understand by this concept, connecting link? Connecting link. So duck-billed platypus. Duck-billed platypus shows character. It is a egg-laying mammal. So mammals usually give birth to their young one, right? But this duck-billed platypus is one kind of mammal which lays the eggs, and externally also you see it possesses the what you can bill or beak, bird's beak. Hope so you know about the beak, right? This beak, birds use this beak for feeding purpose, and this beak is present in this duck-billed platypus. So it shows that it is a connecting link between aves and mammals, because egg-laying character is shown by birds, right? This beak is present only in birds, not in mammals. Do we have this beak? No, we possesses lip-like structure. Same ways, lungs and lungfish. This lungfish utilizes lung for respiration, in spite being a fish, right? It is a fish, but still it has lung. So lungs are only present in organisms which are living or whose habitat is terrestrial. So organisms which have terrestrial habitat only shows the presence of lung, but this lungfish is actually a fish which is a member of class Pisces. But these Pisces, this organism being a fish, how it can respire by lungs? So this indicate that, what does this indicate? That this organism is showing, as this organism is showing a character of both amphibia, right? Amphibia are the organisms which dwells in aquatic as well as your terrestrial habitat. So this organism is showing character of amphibia and Pisces. So gradually the evolution, you can see the gradual evolution from Pisces to amphibia. The evolution is seen from Pisces, that is from fishes to amphibia. Amphibia are the organism which are living in water as well as your land. Reptiles or reptilia are the reptilia group class contain only the organism which survive on your land, and from land they try to extend their territories and they start to fly, and these individuals which can fly are the members of class aves. And finally comes your mammals, most advanced and most complex individual of this earth, right? So this duckbill platypus is a connecting link. So duckbill platypus is showing or is an example of connecting link between which two classes, aves and mammal. Okay, duckbill platypus. It is an this organism is showing a connecting link or showing the character of both aves and mammals, that is birds and mammals. What character of birds do it possess? Presence of beak-like structure, hand which are webbed. Okay, and what characters of mammal does it shows? Egg-laying characters it is showing of birds. Again, beak, presence of beak, webbed feet and laying of egg are the characters of aves, but it is living or other whatever kinds of characters such as presence of sweat glands and all are these characters of mammals itself. Lungfish is a connecting link between Pisces and your amphibia. And peripatus is a connecting link between two, Arthropoda and Annelida. Here two particular phylums are there, phylum Annelida and Arthropoda. Poda means legs. These organisms is crawling, right? Annelids are the is a group of phylum or individuals which shows the crawling activity, creeping and crawling. Just like your caterpillars. Do caterpillars have the legs? No. But these peripatus have body of the caterpillar, but it also shows the presence of legs. So it is showing or indicating a connecting link between two phylums, phylum Annelida and phylum Arthropoda. Embryological evidences. Look at this picture. Can you see some kind of similarity between three groups? That is first trimester, second trimester, third trimester. All these three groups. Whatever individual, whatever kind of organisms developmental stage is seen, it is looking externally similar. But when you see the second group, these individuals which are looking alike in first set now started to modify or started to look some different, so are showing different structure, and finally your final product is seen. That is first example was fish, next salamander, tortoise, chicken, pig, cow, rabbit, man, right? These all individuals are different, belonging to different class, different order, different phylum, but whenever you see the early stage of development, each and every stage of this particular organism is similar. So here we can say that embryology recapitulates phylogeny, that is evolution. In these embryological evidences, you can see that there are some kind of there is some kind of similarities between the development. We are the individuals coming from same ancestor, and we are showing each and every kind of evolutionary steps. These all organisms are having the surrounding environment like aquatic, just like indicating the Pisces one, right? But when you see the final, man, rabbit, cow, pig, chicken, these are all terrestrial, not chicken, pig, these all are terrestrial living habitat. Chicken is aerial mode, is showing the aerial mode of habitat, right? In initial stages, it indicates common origin of all organisms. That's why I have said that embryology recapitulates the phylogeny. Next is Darwin's theory of natural. Darwin's Charles Darwin tried to explain, he was an evolutionist. Charles Darwin is a biologist, tried to explain the process of evolution. So in that, he studied various kinds of specimens of plants and animals, studied its differences and similarities, and tried to note down his observation. The book known as in this book, observation, how he keenly recorded those similarities of these all individuals of all organisms, and there he suggested that these similarities and differences were responsible for the evolution, but only the organism which were able to survive in this environment or this condition. In this origin of species, Darwin tried to explain the organism were able to survive were the one who compete for existence with other organisms of different races or even of its kind. And here nature also play an important role. For sustainability of these organisms, because as nature shows different kinds of climatic conditions, environmental conditions. These organisms have to compete with themselves, also with the organisms of same species, just to survive, and nature was also playing an important role. That's why this natural selection is an important factor for organism to live or to perish. Okay, but natural selection also has an objection. What kind of objection does it have? First one is that it is not the only factor responsible for evolution. Darwin tried to explain what is the theory of natural selection. He wanted to tell the people that there are different kind of similarities in different organisms, but they try to survive in each and every condition by going against the other organisms, right? They try to fit in each and every environmental condition. They struggle to live by competing or by reproducing large number of individuals, but this was not the only one factor for evolution. Second objection was that it did not mention any about useful and this modification. Earlier we studied about the vestigial organ, right? Today we have some vestigial organ like appendix, wisdom teeth, coccyx, and your ear muscles. Once upon a time, these organs have been useful for the organisms or our ancestor, but this particular explanation was not given by the Charles Darwin, that how these useful and non-useful modifications help the evolution. Okay. Next, that there is no explanation about slow change and abrupt change, that is mutation. There were some kind of sudden changes in the character because of which new species emerged. So about these mutations or sudden abrupt changes in organisms, also the slowly gradual changes, slow changes and the abrupt changes explanation was also not given by Charles Darwin. That's why theory of is considered as a base for evolutionary studies. Next comes your Lamarck, gave the theory, or who gave the principle of Lamarckism. Jean-Baptiste Lamarck scientists tried to prove that there are some acquired character which are transferred from one generation to another. Giraffe, neck of giraffe. This giraffe used neck to stretch. Giraffe used to stretch his neck to grab the leaves of this plant, and because of this, the neck of giraffe elongated, and this became character of giraffe. And this is called the theory of inheritance of, and to this acquired character he called the theory of inheritance of acquired character or Lamarckism. These acquired characters are not transferred by our ancestor, but these is individual acquired in itself. Lamarckism tried to prove that these morphological changes occurring in organism are responsible for evolution due to morphological changes. Further, he also said that the neck of giraffe, as it was unable to grasp the leaves, tried to stretch it, and because of this continuous stretching, this giraffe acquired wings in birds, right? There are some birds which can fly, and there are some birds they possess wings, but they are not much strong enough to support the flying activity of the birds, such as ostrich and emu. Right? As ostrich and emu, flying activity of these two animals is not. These are, you tried to explain that these are the acquired character of that birds, that they have their ancestor character of the wings, but as they do not use them or they do not use those wings, it became vestigial for them. Burrowing activity of your snake degenerated and body become blind. Such theory or such acquired character, and such acquired character he called a theory of acquired character of. Next comes your speciation, formation of new species, formation of plant and animal with the effects of evolution. So this new organism can be formed by different environmental factors, and like there may be genetic drift or evolution. New species because of mutation also, right? So whenever new species are formed, evolution play an important, along with that nature play an important role. So these new species are of organism which can produce fertile individuals. Natural reproduction. Species, just a group of organism which show similar kind of habitat and character. Especially, so beside being a geographical and reproductive changes, these organisms may change into different kind of species to change of the habitat habitat also. One evolution. The first record of human-like animal was seen. First human Ramapithecus 1000 years ago. For that, ape-like organisms were seen African regions. Okay, 2.5 crore years ago in African region, gorilla and chimpanzee were seen. The evolution happened in these organisms, and the evolution continued and continued. So now the organism or the animal Ramapithecus, first recorded human in Eastern Africa. This organism was, but morphologically started to evolve more and more and more. So the first upright man continued in the direction. Again, there were some kind of what you can say, changes in their habits were seen, and these changes in habits, morphology of this human-like animals started to be like seen as belonging to Homo 20 lakhs years. And about first walking erect human lakhs years ago in the areas of China and Indonesia. So now the brain development should also happen. Only the external posture should not be erect. The brain and its activity should also be enhanced, and the enhanced activity of brain was seen in the individuals 3000 years ago, and the first member of these class-wise men was Homo sapiens. These wise now the human-like animals start to develop. Brain posture was erect. It started to evolve, walk, right? And so first organism or first man, our first ancestor was Homo sapiens. Then comes your Neanderthal man. The Cro-Magnon evolved 3000 years ago. This wise man have been modern wise man. This modern man or science emerged about 1400 years ago. Industrial society was established 100 years ago. Reached at this stage that we are still the root of human ancestry. Okay? In human evolution, just have to remember that what is a group of this direct man or human-like animal as was seen about 20 lakhs year ago, then 15 lakh year ago. A well evolved with erect walking posture, a well evolved man was seen in the areas of China and Indonesia of Asian continents, and an upright erect man for about 1 lakh year ago, and in 3000 years before, the first wise man was seen as Homo sapien. After Homo sapien, evolution continued, and Neanderthal man considered as a first example of wise man. Neanderthal man is example of first wise man. Cro-Magnon man is 40,000. Recently, this Cro-Magnon man was when evolution have been, or today's humans are observed. Till today, we are undergoing the process of evolution. We are acquiring more and more characters. We are using our brains more. We are showing or undergoing the process of evolution. 10,000 years ago, wise man started to practice the agricultural activity. Started to now on the cooked food. The invention of fire was done. Now as fire came, so slowly and slowly they started to cook their food, the agricultural practice, and from these slowly emerging activities, brain start to develop, and today's human are observed. We are most dominant species on this earth with highly advanced brains, as well as these brains are now search and to form the new technologies. Here completes our chapter.